Saludos everybody, welcome back to Decent Shirt, where we play cards while we wear decent shirts. And for today's video, if you see me sunburned, it's for a good reason. It's because we've been playing with the Solar Celestleo. Celestleo has been looking to become really strong in the Firestorm meta because of the newest cards such as the Exaltis, Champion of Apollo, and also the Soul Bell, Champion of Apollo. So, let's just head on to the video and let's talk about this awesome deck. Alrighty, we can start with 3 Lumero because we do like having a 5 in this deck. Helps us be a little bit aggressive when we don't got our combo pieces. We also do play 3 Cap Mills. It's sort of become kind of standard at this point that you play 3 Cap Mills no matter what because healing is so good in this deck, and since Apollo is one of those Elestrals, Divines that you really want to be using a lot of spirits, Cap Mill is a great tool. Now let's start to talk about one of the newest cards and one of the things that got me the most excited for this deck, and that is none other than Exaltis, Champion of Apollo. If you don't know what Champion of Apollo Exaltis does, well, he has 3 attack and 2 defense, which ultimately looks very underwhelming at the start. However, when you read its effect, it does say that when an Celestial is destroyed in battle, you can special cast this Exaltis from your hand with a Solar Spirit. And it doesn't end there, because this Exaltis gets +3 if you foretold this turn. 3 attack, that means that this, if you foretold at any point in this turn, you get 6 attack on this 1 drop, which is really good. But ultimately, I think the reason why I really like this card more than anything is the effect of being able to be special cast in the field, because it basically says that if you have it on the field and they don't destroy your Celestials with a effect, you are always threatening to have a body on board, and that's very important for this kind of deck where you want to kind of ascend and you don't have to depend so much on your counter runes to be actually able to do that. And even if you don't want to use it for ascensions, it still has a really solid effect that allows it to beat over most 5 drops. Even an Ash Rabbit falls to this Exaltis once you have Apollo or any kind of foretelling in it. We also do play 2 of the new cows, which are pretty crazy, if I may say so. Let me lower the... It's much of a difference, but... Okay, so Soul Bell, Champion of Apollo, if you don't know what it does, it basically says that if this card is foretold with the Apollo effect, you can special cast it to the field. That is insane for this deck because basically you're giving even more snowball potential in a similar way to that of Blistrix, where you want to really be using your top decks and milling them to then cast Elestrals to the board even if they don't have the biggest stats. The same applies for Soul Bell, and the same thing goes for the Ascensions. This deck is an Ascension deck, therefore being able to foretell to then special cast Soul Bell is really strong for this deck. Now, to round off our 1-drop Solar Elestrals, we do have 2 Exaltis because the combo with Argo is still very strong. You do play your 3 Apollo, so there's a lot of, let's say, there's a lot of opportunities for the deck to be able to search with the Nexus effect. It doesn't need to be a solar, but basically all your solars are searchable with the exception of Capno and Lumero. They are searchable with Exaltis. So now, moving away from our solar engine, we do have a copy right here, 2 WindJin. Now, 2 WindJin is actually pretty interesting. I'm not playing 3 because this is not a centric deck around Tornadin. But you do obviously play the Tornadin with the WindJin because first, it's another foretelling which activates your Exaltis. Also, the WindJin Tornadin combo is like very strong by itself, so it's always nice to have a 1-up, and worst case scenario, if you draw into the Tornadin, you can just ascend through any of the natural ones. And you have so much value out of the Tornadin that it's worth it more often than not. So we do play the 2 WindJin with Tornadin. Again, just 2. You don't really need 3. You kind of want to make space for other cards. And it just works out pretty well. You don't really want to prioritize it, but when you see it, it looks really strong. Yes. We do have our Ascension starts with Lost Dragon. We have Tornadin, then we have a Lost Dragon. Gun is really good in this deck because you do have a lot of ways to make sure that you can ascend into the Gun and also have a lot of Nexus banks for the Gun to really pop off. So we do play the one-off Gun, but we also do play the Celestleo, which is the name and sake of this deck. The reason why I really think this deck feels really strong is because now you have a lot of Solar Elestrals that you actually want to run in the deck. So back then, you really wanted to combine all the other elements like eddies and other good Elestrals so that the deck could run, but that also meant that you really didn't play that many Solars, so Apollo wasn't that effective, and Celestleo wasn't as effective either. But now, since you run so many good Solar Elestrals, the Celestleo is a lot more worth it, a lot more versatile, and honestly, it's just more lethal. You can actually pop off with Celestleo and really destroy a lot of Elestrals on the board, or cards in general. Okay, so moving out to our runes, we do play our 3 Apollo, kind of mandatory in this deck where you really want to foretell, you want to stack your deck. You have so many ways of making use of the foretell, and it finally feels like Apollo doesn't feel like a bad card. We do play 2 First Lights. First Light is not a super mandatory card, but I do like it in 2-ups because you can sort of put your Soul Bells on top and sort of guarantee your Ascensions through it, especially because you can search it with the Tornagent if you get lucky. That being said, it's just a really good card in general, and it also allows you to get into your Ascensions faster if need be. We do play 3 Ambrose. Ambrose is really strong, obviously. We want to heal because this deck does like to go through many spirits all the often because of the Apollo, but still really good. We do play the removal options like Resting Our Laurels and Earthquake. We do not play Cryoblast in this deck, but honestly, they don't feel as necessary because of some of the cards that we just added, which is one of the last new cards of this deck, which is the Lyre of Apollo, which is insane in this deck. If you don't know what Lyre of Apollo does, basically, it's a galaxy, or a galaxy really. The Empower Elestrals attack and defense are swapped. That is really strong, especially because you can combine it with one of the counter runes that you should already imagine which card we're talking about. We're talking about Argo. Lyre of Apollo, really strong, but since we are playing Argo after all, we do play the one-off Necklace of Harmonia, and these cards allow us to also make Exaltus live when need be. Not to mention that if Lyre of Apollo is in play, both your Soul Bell and your Exaltus get +2 attack because they are a champion of Apollos, which means that this Exaltus in theory could be an 8 attack and this Soul Bell could be 6 defense, or if you enchant your own Soul Bell, it actually becomes a 6 attack, which is, again, really scary. We do play our triple Gorgons because, obviously, we do play double Argo, double Shield, and double Tsunami. That's just your standard counter room package. We do not play Poison Tip Tower. We would play that in your side deck. And Altar of the Stars is really good in the deck, but I think that Tsunami works best for the deck just to have more coverage in general. Alright, let's move on to our Spirit deck.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the video so far. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder that if you're enjoying the video, please like. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe so you can keep up all the great content that I'm going to be uploading in this YouTube channel. So, let's get back to the video.
For our Spirit deck, we don't really have that much special things. We do have how many spirits? We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 13 Solar Spirits. Really solid. The deck does run through many Solar Spirits. You never feel like you have too many, and if you need for side, you can easily take 1 or 2 to accommodate something like a Cryoblast. We do play triple Likers just to make sure that our Windgens and Tornagents are live. Tornagent can use our Solar Spirits, but more often than not, we kind of want to use our Lycaris for that. We do play double Leviathan and double Atlas for our Earthquakes, so Tsunamis and Earthquakes basically. Overall, this deck feels really solid in terms of the spirit management. It doesn't feel like you really need to be creative with which spirits you put. You just gotta make sure that you heal enough to make sure that you don't feel that burnout at the end. So some standard plays if you're not really familiar with the deck. Well, for one, you want your Exaltus mainly when you have Argos, because Argo can actually get you the spirits and also defend your Exaltus. And the following turn, once you use your Argo, you can then just use the Exaltus effect to Nexus and then search for none other than good old Celestleo or Lostragon. And again, those feel really strong. There are other cards that we can actually search with the Exaltus, but these two are probably the ones that you want to search for to then ascend into in your turn. Another really solid play that I really like doing is going with the Apollo. Let's say we put 2 of the Apollo and using the Foretell to basically guarantee with the first light to, oh, not that, but Solar Spirit, putting our Spirit and searching for our Soul Bell and putting it on top. So that way, when you do the Apollo, you can just foretell 3. Let's say you add whatever Solar Spirit, but you can also special cast that Solar Spirit so that then you can do the crazy thing of ascending into that Lostragon or even a Tornadin. Sometimes you even want to do really wacky stuff like ascend into a 1-drop. And again, it's just so versatile that I think that you can snowball really, really easily. Like in the match that I'm gonna upload in tomorrow's video, I think you're going to really like how aggressive the deck can actually be, because right now I'm just like shuffling, but the deck can just spiral out of control for the opponent if they cannot deal with the first one. And what I really like is that if the way that they're going to handle the like pressure that you're going to put is by destroying by battle, then Exaltus just makes sure that you can always keep that momentum even when they destroy your Elestrals. And it sort of forces your opponent to focus on cards that you wouldn't really want to use your resources on, like for example using a Earthquake on a Solar Elestral so that you don't get your Exaltus, but you still have it in hand, so you really didn't use that much. You sort of like burn your opponent in a way without them really knowing. They're like, obviously they can use it to their advantage, but at the same time you can sort of manipulate your opponent. Like a good player can manipulate their opponent to like playing into it, like either playing into the destruction or just playing more defensively and really using cards that they don't really want to use on your smaller Elestrals, so that way you can put more pressure the following turn. So, like I said at the start, I think one of the reasons why Celestleo feels a lot better now moving forward is the fact that you have so many good Solar Elestrals that you can actually play, which basically means that Celestleo's effect is going to be live more often than not. And not only that, they also help you ascend into the Celestleo. So that kind of synergy allows the deck to feel really strong, especially because without counting the Celestial, you're playing 15 Solar Elestrals, so you can sort of see what the Celestial, obviously. So you can pop a lot of things if you high roll. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a high roll deck, but foretelling does allow you to really make good use of it and not depend so much on RNG as perhaps something like a Blisterix. Moving on to potential techs that you could consider playing the deck, we do have a very obvious one, which would be a Heliolyth. Now, I personally use it in the side deck for this deck, but since you already play Argo, you do play really strong artifacts, there's nothing stopping you from replaying the Heliolyth, especially considering the fact that you have so many ways of setting up your Ascensions that Heliolyth doesn't really need the artifact to be able to be cast, and his effect is strong enough without having to be normal cast to still be usable. So this is potentially another removal card that you could play. I just chose to not really play it, but you can definitely forsake something like the Tornadin package so you can play the Heliolyth. Now, another card that I didn't really add, but you can definitely play is a Golden Fleece, especially with the Argo. You can sort of like use it as another way of protection. Now, personally, I really like the Argo into the Lyre of Apollo because it makes the opponent lose their Celestial more often than not. That many of them can't really handle the fact that their stats get swapped. So I sort of chose that over the Golden Fleece, which has a lot more versatility because you can use the Lyre of Apollo aggressively and defensively compared to Golden Fleece, where you more often than not are just going to use it as a defensive option. Another card that I did not choose to play, which was the Torch of Hestia. Now, Torch of Hestia is an interesting one. I really did like it. But ultimately, I chose not to use it just to not add many spirits because I am, at the end of the day, giving you a base for you. But a really cool play is playing Exaltus with Torch of Hestia because Torch of Hestia activates when you attack. That means that if Exaltus declares an attack, let's say you swing with Exaltus with the empowered Torch of Hestia, Torch of Hestia is going to activate and you're going to foretell 3. Now, you're not really going to add anything because you don't play Hestia, but the fact that you foretold activates Exaltus effect. So from a 3 with a +2 becomes a 5, but now with the effect proc, you actually get +3 again. So that means that you get an 8 attack on a 1-drop with just 2 Elestrals or 2 spirits. That's a lot of really good value. And it also helps the Exaltus to stay on the board more often than not because it makes it a 5 attack even when you don't use the foretell effect. And speaking of fire, I think that a really good card would be Draco Ray. Draco Ray has a lot of potential. Again, this deck works all around ascending, and Draco Ray just gives you more healing, which is really solid in the deck, and also has synergy with the Torch of Hestia. And if you're playing stuff like Torch of Hestia and Draco Ray, might as well play cards like Kinleo, Reforge, and even Loveless, because all those are very splashable in this deck, ultimately due to the fact that this deck doesn't really need that many spirits to really kick off. You just gotta be careful with it. But yeah, those are some nice decks that you could consider. I can definitely visualize a world where you build a Solar Fire, sort of like using Draco Rays and Torch of Hestias, and it could be just as good. Ultimately, I just chose to favor Celestleo because I really like Celestleo as a concept, and it's a really good card, so yeah, I went with that instead. Alright, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the deck profile. I think this is a really strong deck that is going to have so much snowball effect that I think a lot of people are going to really like it. But at the end of the day, it is sort of RNG, so you're going to see it all over the place. But I do think that it has the highest potential it's ever had to really take over the meta. I think that no deck can say that it has a winning matchup against this, except perhaps Thunder? Question mark. Either way, I want to hear your comments and your reactions in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're trying to reach 100 subscribers, and we can only do that with your help. So please, please, please like and subscribe. Alright, so having said that, that will be all from me, Decent Shirt, signing out.